right here on the big station, Power 104.5 FM. A very special good morning to everybody listening right now. I hope you're having a great morning. And I mentioned earlier that I had a very special guest joining me in studio this morning. And this young lady has traveled all the way from the United States. She's here on vacation. But before she decided to come to Grand Bahama on vacation, she reached out to a fellow Bahamian over there in Atlanta. Good morning to Thea Nixon. And she said to her, listen, I'm going to Grand Bahama, and while I'm there, I want to give back. I wanna work. I wanna know the community. I wanna meet people. I wanna make a difference. And so my good friend Thea sent her to the big station. She sent her right here, the Power 104. She connected her with some people on island so that she can come and do some work. And so I'm going to let her introduce herself to the Power listeners. Good morning.
Good morning, Bahamas and Freeport. Good morning, good morning.
How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored and alive.
And that's good.
Yes.
Listen, I just wanted you to, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, my pleasure.
I'm so happy to have you in studio. And I'm trying to get the recording going here because I want to make sure I got you. Okay, so I want you to introduce yourself to the Power 104 team, to Grand Bahama, and let everyone know why you're here.
Absolutely. My name is Yassin Hall, and I was born in the United States Virgin Islands on the island of St. Thomas. So one love Caribbean.
One love.
I am a mental health advocate for change. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a self-made multimillionaire, and I have my own online university, and both of my organizations, Journey Untold and Boss Class LLC, help single black women get out of their financial and mental situations in life. And I am here to give back to the Bahamian community and help as many single women as I can, and help restore faith and make sure that everyone, understands how to cope and help them how to cope and encourage those to go in for help and cope.
Yes. And I like that you are a mental health advocate.
For change.
For change. And that's something that every opportunity I get to promote, mental health awareness and to encourage persons to pay attention to your mental health. Mental health is just as important as physical health. You go to the gym, you work out, we think about what we eat, what we're putting into our bodies, but you rarely hear the kind of attention paid to mental health in our community.
Absolutely.
Coming from the Caribbean, you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
In our region, we
Absolutely.
don't talk about
about
mental
it.
health. We don't value people who are promoting mental health. We don't understand the importance of it.
Right.
And if someone is in need of that type of assistance, we're not the first to say you should go to counseling.
Right.
Go to a therapist.
Right. We say get over it.
Yeah, get over it.
Yes.
Go
It
pray.
happened to us too, so
Yeah.
we're dealing with it.
Yeah,
You should deal
you
with
should
it
deal
too.
with it. Suck it up.
Mhm.
Deal with it. But not everyone. That's not the remedy for everybody.
Correct.
And it's good to talk to people.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with seeking help.
No, it's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
And there are people in our community. There are people who can help you. Trained therapists
Yes.
that can help you.
Yes.
So you told me a bit about your backstory. So
Yes.
share a bit of your backstory. First of all, which island are you from?
St. Thomas.
St. Thomas.
Yes.
Okay. Born and raised there.
Born and raised.
Uh-huh.
Yes. I am actually a daughter of a paranoid schizophrenic mother and a depressed hoarder father. So I've watched my mother go from, and I'm using terms now because this is what we've grown to learn what they are.
Mhm.
But back then on the island, I was just told she's sick.
Mhm.
And when you tell a child that she's sick, you think, well, give them some bush tea
Mhm.
or have them go to a doctor. But unfortunately, no care was available at the time when she was going through. And she was the first and only woman in walking the street
Mhm.
showing weird behaviors in that era.
Mhm.
So to see a woman on the street at a time of life was not the norm at all.
Yes.
I didn't realize that it had to happen to me, and I didn't know that at the time.
Okay.
At the age of 12, my mother was running behind me screaming, "I'm going to kill you." And at a 12-year-old mind thinking, what on earth did I do to
Yes.
deserve your own mother who's supposed to be nurturing you?
Must have been
No.
shocking. And
Yes.
fearful.
Yes. And as she was getting closer to me, because at that point she was in her mania stage, and she was just knocking people down like bowling pins, just to try to get to me, And I was saved at that moment. When I saw she was coming closer to me, I said, God, I'm gonna be good. if you just save me, I'm going to be good, because I thought I had done something wrong.
Yeah.
And at that time, some men in a painter's truck had swooped me up on my neck, and I thought it was the angels, and my whole body was, floating.
Yeah.
And they got me to safety, and I watched my mother being slammed to the floor by authorities, and then shoved into a white cloth with zippers, and then literally picked up from her back and thrown into the, what do you call, the crazy wagon,
Yeah. Yes.
And that was a sight that I saw maybe 100 times in my life. That alone was traumatizing. And she attempted to take my life 3 other times, but
Wow.
God.
How did you survive that? What freed you the third and final time she tried that?
My grandmother.
Your grandmother.
Yes, we all lived in the same house. My grandmother lived with us as well. So it was 3 of us. My grandmother, which is her mom, and my mother and myself lived in the house. My grandmother is a very spiritual woman. She grew up on, teaching me God and faith. But that wasn't enough, because I was also too dealing with it, and of course no therapy for me. Because we're supposed to be resilient as children and get over stuff, which doesn't happen,
We don't know how.
No, exactly, we're not taught.
We're not taught that.
And she had to introduce me to different things to keep my mind occupied. She introduced me to gardening, that did not work. Cooking, I was unbothered. And finally, she was an avid seamstress. Like, she made all of our clothes. And one day, I had my school skirts, and the granny skirts used to be all the way down to your ankle.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But we had evolved, and my friends were wearing skirts up to my knees. And I said, "Mom, I don't want to wear long skirts anymore. I don't look fashionable." And she's like, "Well, I guess she thought by telling me this that I would say okay and not do it." But she said, "If you want your skirt smaller, you need to make it yourself." I said, "Well, show me." And I've been sewing ever since.
Okay.
Yes. So she found coping mechanisms for me to deal.
Yes.
And as well as my teacher, my English teacher in 9th grade, I did not know at the time while I was in the classroom, she was my mom's best friend in high school.
Okay.
So because she knew the connection, she's like, "I'm not going to let you go through this. I'm not going to let you fail. You want somebody to talk to, come talk to me. You don't understand the situation, but I'm here for you to talk to."
So you had someone
Yeah.
to talk to help you deal with
Absolutely.
everything that you were dealing with.
Yes.
And then you transitioned to the United States.
I
You left
did.
the Virgin Island.
I left the Virgin Islands, escaping a domestic violence situation of 3 years.
Okay.
And I moved away to escape.
Yes.
I had to end up going in shelters because he found where I was.
Yes.
And my enough stage is when he put a knife to my throat, cut my throat, and had me dangling from the wall in front of my children. And my first son started to urinate on himself. And I said, "God, if you get me out of this situation, I promise you I'm leaving this man." And I left.
You left.
Yes.
And you began a life for yourself.
Yes.
Did you then go to therapy?
Yes.
That's
I
when
had
you.
to.
That was the first time
I had to.
you went to therapy.
Yes. And he was actually my second boyfriend. There was a man at the age of 16 that took my innocence from me, and I have my oldest son from him.
Okay.
And then I went into the relationship with this guy, and had my second son, and we went from being innocent stolen to domestic violence.
Oh.
Yes. And it has to do with the fact that I wasn't healed. I was not healed from the situation with my mother. I was not healed with the trauma of being bullied for 16 years for no other reason than my mother had a mental health disorder. And then, of course, the innocence stolen and the childbirth, all of that is traumatic experiences that no one helped me to cope through.
Did you even know at the time that this is not normal life?
No.
You didn't know.
No, because it was happening to people around me. It seemed normal. That's what happens to women. And it wasn't until I came to the States that I realized this was not normal. And that was a blow to take. That these types of things were not normal. You realize that your body is sacred, and you have the right to say no, and you have the right for somebody to respect your position and not take things that don't belong to them. And I had to get therapy to cope and learn how to live, and it was the best and freeing thing I've ever done is getting therapy. And it led, the other side of therapy is so free. When I talk about freedom,
Yeah. Yes.
and the moment that my mind was now clear, I was able to focus on my career. I was able to focus on having people and building trust and learning how to live positively and live in joy.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that we born out of joy. And everyone says this is a bundle of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens to the joy after that? It doesn't, no one says anymore, well, I want you to be joyful.
Yes.
You have to learn how to become joy. And people don't know that joy is the infinite of happiness.
Yeah.
And I have been in the most joyful place in my life, and I still going to therapy.
Yeah, I was about to ask you.
Yes, I'm still going to therapy. Therapy. I also have 4 children. My oldest is bipolar. My second son is living with successfully depression, and my last 2 children have autism.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, having people put labels on your child is hard.
Yes.
It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
However, because of therapy, I'm able to understand and know that okay, now we have a diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do as a woman and a parent and a single mom? What can I do to help better parent my children so they can grow up to be successful
Yes.
individuals
Yes.
and be part of a community and live in the community and be successful.
Yeah, you're giving them tools
Yes.
to survive.
Yes.
That's so important.
So I went into therapy to learn how to parent them as well
Mhm.
and how to be a better person, a better woman, a better child of God.
Is that when you decided to form your own organization? Is that the
No, it can't. Honestly, I seriously just walked in my purpose. Like,
okay?
I stepped. That's all I kept doing. I didn't plan for any of it.
Yeah.
And I just kept walking in faith, but I had to be free.
Okay.
My mind had to be clear in order to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
I wrote my book, Journey Untold, which is my book about myself and what it felt like my whole from birth to about 21 in that book.
That must be a awesome story. Guess what? We're
It's
gonna
a
talk about
bestseller, yes.
it. Is I was just about to ask you. That must have been a bestseller. I need to get a copy of that. But yeah, I said I want you to hang out with me. I'm gonna keep you in studio with me a little while longer. I want you to tell me more about this story because I find you absolutely fascinating. I gotta take a quick break. I want you to keep the dials right where you got it. I got Yassin. What's your last name?
Hall, Yassin
Yassin.
Hall.
He's a listen. That's a Bahamian name. You sure you ain't from
Hey,
Bahama?
am I? Am I?
I got Yassin Hall in studio with me, author, philanthropist, mental health advocate. This is on the 4.5 FM. Good morning to everyone locked in right now. I hope you're having a great morning. It's Thursday. We're moving so fast to the weekend. And you know what? I always enjoy a great conversation because that's what we do here on Power 104. It's coffee, it's conversation, it's the best music of your morning. I have a fantastic in-studio guest with me. I got Yassin Hall in studio with me. Yassin, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
And we've been talking about mental health. Yassin is a mental health advocate. She's been sharing her story with us and just telling me and you and everyone listening how it all began, like what led her to be such an advocate for this. And she shared her story, growing up on St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands. And she's a Caribbean woman just like us. She's a native of the region. But, like many of us, growing up in this region, we realize that there's certain topics that is taboo, right, Yassin?
Absolutely.
Certain things we don't talk about. We should be talking about it, but we don't. And more and more mental health is a conversation that's happening globally,
Yes.
but it's still not happening enough
In the Caribbean.
in the Caribbean. And you talked about growing up with your mom and the life that you endured and going to the U.S. and learning that, wait a minute, what I experienced isn't normal. Something's wrong with that.
Yes.
And that led you to therapy,
Yes.
which changed your life.
Absolutely.
And now, because of what you went through and what changed you, you went back to St. Thomas
I did.
and you made them change some things there.
Yes, I
what,
did.
What did you do?
I implemented paved the way to have 3 bills, legislative bills, passed. One was that first responder and teachers receive mental health training every single year, as well as extend the stay of the mentally ill individual. If somebody had a nervous breakdown, like my mom, when she had a nervous breakdown, the very next day, we talked about her trying to kill my life, trying to take my life one day,
Yeah.
and the next day she was back. And, it didn't give us any time to prepare at all, mentally or emotionally, or know what was going on. She came back, before she was, as normal as she could be,
Yes.
being a undiagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, and now coming in the house and they tell you, oh, your mother had a nervous breakdown and she's now a paranoid schizophrenic.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, wait, what? Well, what is that?
Yeah.
So I extended the stay from, it used to be 1 day to now about 10 days, within 5 to 10 days. as well as get the families counseling to be prepared for what they're about to have a life-changing event with a patient now who's diagnosed with some form of mental health disorder.
Wow.
Yes, yes. So.
And I know that wasn't easy, but you did it.
It was not easy. It was not easy. And we have to convince 16 senators to sign this bill, but we're grateful that it's signed. 2 years ago, I believe it was 2 years ago, one of the nonprofits who came in to help now after speaking out about mental health came in and was granted a $300,000 grant that all students who go to school was going to receive mental health care. Yeah, so it's been a rewarding journey, and I know I do this in honor of my mother.
Yes.
Because she didn't get the help that she needed, so I'm like, why don't I help others?
Yes.
Instead of, I don't want to ever have anybody feel that way that I felt.
Yes.
Again, so whatever I could do in the community, I want to help people and encourage people to talk about what they're going through. Form a support group for what you're going through. We have got to talk about it. A lot of times we talk about our heart, and we tell the doctor, oh, our heart feels this way, we're breathing this way, but we don't normalize that the brain is an organ that can get sick as well.
Yes.
And it also needs care.
Yes.
And the only way to talk about the things that happen in the brain that's sick is to talk about it. That's how we get the information out.
Yeah.
And going into therapy, it's not what people think it is. It's not somebody just sitting there with a pen and a paper and asking you questions or how do you feel, and how it's more of an interaction with she's trying, whoever your therapist is. Like, I have a holistic therapist that works for me. I've tried traditional, I've tried different forms. It's just like if you were given a diagnosis for your heart, are you going and when they try one medication, you've got to try another one and another one and another one. It's the same thing with the brain.
Yeah.
If you're not getting what you're needing out of therapy, don't just stop. Go to a next therapist. There's so many different forms of therapy, and holistic works for me. And the way how holistic works, it has you replay and go back in that time of when the trauma happened and replay it in a more positive light. Because of the trauma, we remember the negative. Like when you've gone through a hurricane, when the rain happens, you start to have a flashback of that whole event happening over again. When you were sitting in the living room, next thing you know, you're scared. Next thing you know, you're traumatized. Next thing you know, you're underwater. Next thing you know, you hear these loud winds.
Yeah.
And every single time you go back into that era, you go back into that as PTSD, it just forms another, it just gets another form of the brain sick again, until it's to the point that you may or may not have to be on medication. And we're trying to get you to not get to that point.
Okay.
And once you start talking about it more and more and more, about your emotions and your feelings, because that's what the brain is,
Yes.
the faster you get to healing.
So you found a type of therapy that works for you.
Yes.
But you never gave up.
Right.
You started it, and you just decided, okay, I'm going to try something else, another form.
Yes.
But I guess the key, the takeaway here is you got to try.
Yes.
And I was telling you before we started to talk about the Grand Bahama Resilience Center. Shout out to the Grand Bahama Resilience Center, because they are it's a community center that offers therapy, licensed therapists, amazing people. The service is absolutely free. And, they are in the community helping so many people and offering the services, again, free, and giving us the opportunity to talk. And they were formed after Hurricane Dorian, which was a Category 5. I told you about Dorian. I told you about the trauma from Dorian and then COVID. And so Grand Bahama and Abaco, we are in a very unique situation in comparison to the rest of the Bahamas, because we now have two traumatic events, two life-changing events that we find ourselves dealing with. And so the Grand Bahama Resilience Center, they are definitely needed, and they're working hard. Kudos to them. And they are always just encouraging people to come and to call and to come and to call. And so I'm happy that you're here this morning, because you're tying right in to something that I am definitely pushing for us as a community to embrace therapy. Go and talk to someone. You do not label yourself. It doesn't mean you're crazy.
Right.
It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. But, go and talk. Because, again, mental health and mental illness, two different things. And, you talked about your mom being schizophrenic. And That's mental illness.
That's mental illness.
You know.
But she had mental health issues that went undiagnosed.
Yes.
That progressed over time into
time.
paranoid schizophrenia,
Yeah.
and by the time she reached that point, all they could do is fully medicate her for the rest of her life.
Yes.
And nobody. I don't want to see anybody live that.
Yeah. And you don't have to.
Yes.
You know, if you just start talking to someone, if you feel as though something's not right or I need to have a conversation, go and have the conversation.
Yes.
And I'm so happy you're here. And you've been here since Monday. And you've connected with one of the local NGOs, 700 Partners. Good morning to the team at 700 Partners, Ginger Moxie and all of the team there. So you connected with them.
Yes.
And you went throughout the community.
I did.
And you met some people.
Yes.
And
oh my gosh. It was an eye-opening experience, and I'm so humbled to be a part of it.
Yes.
Yesterday we went out to 5 women who have children.
Mm-hmm.
And the first lady that we went to, she actually got an eviction notice from her house,
Mm-hmm.
and in less than 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And and the thing about it is, she actually gives back to the community herself
Mm-hmm.
and talks to the youth about sexual abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a woman who gives back
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't have much and is trying,
Yeah.
And I am going to pay her first, last, and security for
That's
her
what I'm
new
talking
apartment.
about.
And pay all her bills up until December for the rent.
That's what I'm talking
So
about.
that was the first.
That was the first.
And the second lady, she only had ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she had in her house to feed
Yeah.
her children. So of course Ginger Moxley, mother's purse,
Mm-hmm.
gave her food for her children, and I gave her some money for groceries.
Mm-hmm. And Mother's Purse is the name of your.
That's Ginger's.
Okay.
Yes, that's
So
Ginger's organization.
You guys
here.
came together and
Yes.
you went and you helped these ladies.
Yes.
I mean, and that's just number 2.
That's number 2.
Uh-huh.
Number 3 didn't have any gas for her stove to cook on,
Mm-hmm.
so I gave her about a month or 2 supply of propane gas.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 didn't have any couldn't have the money for her light bill,
Mm-hmm.
so I offered to pay her light bill for her.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last lady, she hasn't had light for like 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
and what an inspiration story. She even though she didn't have light, she's so positive and inspiring to me
Mm-hmm.
of how she coped. She showed us where she stayed in her house in an attic that's less than 3 feet wide,
Yeah.
and she stayed there, and the sacrifice that she has 7 kids, and the sacrifice of her putting her 7 kids on a boat because there was no room for her,
Yeah.
and she had to stay back and just walk on faith
Yeah.
that her children were going to be okay.
Yeah.
And instead of any I don't know how I'm a mother, and I cannot think about being separated in that part of life when that's all I have left.
Yeah.
And everything is taken, and that's all you have left.
That's all you have left.
I can't imagine. And then she helped our neighbors. She helped her neighbors out, and just knew that eventually she was going to get to her children, and that just. Ooh.
I know. Just listening to it.
Yes.
Flashbacks.
Yes.
I have my own set of flashbacks.
So I'm going to have her lights restored.
That is awesome. And you came on vacation.
I came on vacation.
I just when Thea called me and she said to me, and again, shout out to Thea Nixon. Thea's a Bahamian living in Atlanta, doing amazing things, and she just reached out. She said, Yolanda, Yassin's coming and she wants to know more about the community. She's going to connect with an NGO there. But I want you to meet her. I want her to talk to you. She wants to talk to the community about mental health. I was like, send her in. Tell her, come on over. Because we want to talk about mental health. That's what I love to do. And so, Yassin, I appreciate you for coming.
My pleasure.
You're going to be on island for a couple more days.
Yes, we're going to start vacation officially today.
Yeah, today. Yeah, because I was about to say, I appreciate you doing all of this, but could you go and get some vacation?
Yes, we're going to the beach today.
Yeah, 'cause I want you to have a great experience while you're here.
Yes.
I thank you so much. And again, your book is called
Journey Untold. It's on Amazon. Just type in Journey Untold, and it will come up. And all the proceeds from my book goes towards these organizations. How I'm able to help these women.
Yeah.
This came from the sales that people purchased my book.
Awesome.
It's also mandatory reading in 3 middle schools now in Georgia. For the middle schoolers, they read it during Mental Health Awareness Month,
Yes.
and they write essays, and I get to read all the essays and how the book has inspired them to speak up and tell their parents they want help. So if y'all want the book here,
Yes.
I'll be more than happy to give the students access in middle school and high school as well,
Okay.
so that they too can read the book and be encouraged and understand that they're not alone.
Okay.
They're not alone, and it's okay to not be okay.
That's amazing. And can people follow you on social media? How do we
Yes.
follow you? How do we friend you?
Instagram, you can follow me at YASSIN HALL, Yassin Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing for Facebook and Twitter.
Awesome. Yassin, I appreciate you. Thank you, Thea.
I appreciate you.
Wherever she is, thank you, Thea. And we're going to keep in touch because I'm going to follow your journey to see what's going on. And I'm so, I'm inspired by what you did in St. Thomas. You gave me some ideas. I think I got some stuff to go talk to the Bahamas government about. There we go.
Mental health for change.
Mental health for change.
Yes.
Thank you, Yassin. Go to the beach. Have a good day. It's 29 minutes after the 9 o'clock hour. Yassin Hall, mental health advocate, a best-selling author. She's here on Grand Bahama. She wanted to know, what are we doing? Mental health, what are we doing? How can I help? You see what I keep talking about, just making a change. One person makes such a great, great difference. Anyway, I want you to keep the dials where you got it. I got to check in with No Holds Restaurant and see what they're serving up on this Thursday. Also, the Big Fair Play Restaurant, I'll let you know what's going on with them. I got lots more music to share with you. It's an old school Thursday on the big station. And also, the Pfizer, the